talented, and hopefully he can turn that talent into something special.
100%. And just like you said, all of us heard about Lythe Pillay before we actually saw him. Same with me. Everybody kept asking me, do you know this kid named Lythe Pillay? Have you seen him race? He's going to be the next best thing. And I was like, who's Lythe Pillay? And eventually when I saw him, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know what people are speaking about. So welcome, Lythe.
Thank you.
Take us through your background. Where did you go to school, primary school, high school? Where did this passion for athletics start? Tell us about Lythe Pillay.
Sure. Okay, so the passion goes way back, grade 1 of a primary. And I mean, like when you start at a new primary school, of course, they line the kids up and make them run up and down a 60-meter stretch. And since then, I just fell in love with the sports. And going back to grade 8 to grade 1, if you had to ask me, like, what you do when you grow up, I'll be like, I want to be a professional athlete.
Wow.
And I mean, I wasn't winning at the time, I won't lie, like maybe inside the school, but, that was my passion, it was my dream. And I always had this thing of, I want to become a professional athlete one day. And fast track up to when I went to high school in Kes, and then everything just skyrocketed from there. And it was like, wow, this actually can come true, It's not just a far-fetched idea or dream that some primary school kid had.
You say you weren't the quickest, so maybe not the most talented. Do you think that you've had to maybe work harder than some of the more talented guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. So how it happened for me, so going from grade 1 up until grade 6, the furthest I made it was districts for primary school. And I remember in 6th grade, because of course I grew up with my mom, and it was a bit difficult to find a private coach. So I thought, I'm like, what, I don't need a coach because we live in a complex and we had like this long road. So I was like, theoretically training is running up and down the field. It could work on the road for me as well. And like almost every day I used to run up and down this road with a stopwatch in my hand. I don't know what I was timing, but it was just the idea of it. And then all of a sudden grade 7 was like my breakthrough, and it was like, wow, okay. And I made it to essays for the first time. I got a silver in the 200 hurdles, surprisingly, and I came 4th in the 200.
Wow.
And like from there it was like where my mom and I were like, what, actually, I can take this quite far. And since then we've all been invested into it.
I mean, I guess that speaks to where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Oh yeah.
You knew what you wanted, and you did everything to make it possible. You spoke about your mom, so obviously we know you grew up in a single-parent household. Take us through that. Was there a lot of challenges? What do you feel you were missing out as a kid?
I wouldn't say I missed anything out. Because my mom did work for the for the aviation industry, so often she would travel, but I would have someone to stay at home with me. But I feel like growing up, not having both parents at home all the time was a bit difficult at first, but I got used to it really quickly. And I mean, my mom did a pretty good job at covering both roles of mother and father. And she always found the time to always push me, not just with sport, but like her emphasis has always been on academics and my schoolwork. And I mean, despite her maybe being, halfway across the world, she always made sure that, life work was done, life did everything you needed to do. And she kept motivating me and pushing me. And I mean, I feel like I didn't have much, or as what people would say, everything that a normal child grew up with, but I had enough. And I mean, my mom made sure I had enough to not just get through life, but pursue dreams that I felt I could try achieve one day.
Damn, that's so inspirational. At such a young age, 18 years old. And I hope everybody watching is going to draw inspiration from your story and your journey so far today. But on that note, strength of a mother, please give your mom a shout out. We need to know who she is.
Thank you, Mom. I love you.
What's her name, Lythe?
Oh, yeah, Conlety Beverly Pillay, but everyone knows as Beverly Pillay.
There we go. Beverly Pillay, thank you for giving birth to such a superstar. Right, Wesley?
Yeah, he's such a well-rounded person. I think your mom did a good job.
Thank you.
Very good job. So, Lythe, obviously, growing up, you already said that as a primary school kid, you knew you wanted to become a professional athlete. Why? Who were your role models? What drove you to becoming or wanting to become a professional athlete?
Well, I mean, any typical role model for a primary school athlete is Usain Bolt. And of course, just as I near the end of primary school, of course, that's when Wade, started to break out. And of course, I drew massive inspiration from him. And then going to high school, high school is like this big jump. And of course, it's a new environment, tadpoles in the big ocean. And I was fortunate enough to bump into Coach Hughes, or Tsepo Lefete, as everyone else knows him. And he's become like my, I like to compare our relationship to a Batman and Robin relationship. He's my Batman, I'm Robin, and I mean, he's been a major inspiration to me, and not just as a coach, but he's always had that mentor aspect to it. He's always given me that extra advice, and I mean, he's not afraid to call me out sometimes. I mean, I'll never forget the one time, actually it was after Tokyo, and I got back, and I was doing a session at school. He looks at me, he's like, and now what's this, So he's always, keeping me on my toes, pushing me, and I appreciate that about him. And I mean, he's a massive inspiration for me, and also being able to travel with a lot of athletes like Akani as well. I've also, gotten to draw a lot of inspiration from him and his story. Antonio, Sakiti Nene. So, I mean, I draw inspiration from a lot of athletes, and, I have a few key ones in my life.
That's amazing to hear. Mr. International Shoes, thank you for being Lythe's mentor. I think it's so important. I think, Wesley, you can speak to this. For young athletes, especially Lythe, he broke through at the tender age of 16. It's a very young age. Anything can go wrong. Especially signing a professional contract with Adidas, 16 years old. You could have thought, I made it, it's done, and things could have just sidetracked. So just tell us, as a journalist, and you speak to a lot of athletes, how important is it for athletes to be mentored?
Oh, it's crucial. I think the biggest issue that we see in South African athletics is trying to make that transition from junior to senior. We have so many junior athletes who just don't make the grade for whatever reason. And I don't think it's always coaching or training, or I think it's just having somebody there to help motivate you, to keep you going. It's not easy. It's a difficult job. And if you've got the right people behind you, that's crucial.
Definitely. Like you said, it's not only about the physicality or the coaching, it's about the mentorship, it's about the mental state of an athlete. So Lythe, growing up, single parent house, I mean, you said your mom was very strong already, so you never lost out on anything. Making this breakthrough, being very determined from a young age. I don't know many kids right now that's with a stopwatch running laps in a complex. They'd rather be sitting behind, their PlayStation doing those kinds of things. Mental state, what kept you focused?
Sure, I mean, that's a bit of a difficult. I mean, primary school, I didn't have that, that many stresses, like modern day stresses. It was just, go to school, come back, I want to run fast, let me just run up and down this road. But I mean, especially like now, especially 2019, after African champs would have like my major injury and like major setbacks, it was very difficult to, stay motivated and stay inspired. And I mean, of course, as you said, mentors do play a good role in like, keeping you there, maintaining you. But a lot of it just comes down to patience, patience and discipline. I mean, you have to be hungry for it. You can't just, want it half-heartedly. And I mean, it has to be quite personal. I won't lie. I mean, as much as it's a sport, if it's not personal, then, it won't really touch you as it should if you are passionate about it. So yeah, and I mean, I say the key thing is just, just staying disciplined, staying hopeful, and just keeping your feet on the ground.
Jeez, keeping your feet on the ground. Wise words from Mr. Lythe Pillay. We're going to watch your race in Boksburg now, 400 meters. I think your PB for the 400 meters, correct me if I'm wrong, is a 45.53.
Yeah.
And in this particular race, you ran a 45.74. So let's remind our people who Lythe Pillay is and what he can do. Technical glitch in the blocks there, Lythe. That happens often, for athletes. A little bit of a false start. There we go.
Do you remember this race?
Oh yeah, no, very, very vivid. Oh, actually very clearly, yeah.
Take us through this. How do you feel watching yourself, race? I mean, I used to hate it as an athlete, watching myself race. I always critique myself, everything. How do you feel watching yourself race?
I won't lie. I mean, like, with any race or like video, once I've run the race, I'm the first person to go back and pick it and say, okay, fine, I did this, cool, but I must work on this next time. But I mean, this race was like, I won't lie, it was actually my most emotional race because it was after all the setbacks. I didn't expect to run that time I did on the day.
When you say setbacks, what are you referring to?
A lot. Injuries, health scares.
45.75. And just to remind everybody, that is Lythe Pillay. In that race, you mentioned that you were facing a lot of setbacks. Just take us through that and how that affected your goals and your plans.
Okay, so shortly after African champs in 2019, I fell quite ill, and very ill. I somehow managed to contract swine flu and pneumonia at the same time.
Wow.
And then, of course, I was out for quite a while after that. And that was just around June exams. And about 2 months after, my lung collapsed. So I had to go into theatre for that as well, and then it was also like a whole process of like waiting to like get back on track. Will I be able to get back on track? And I mean at that point, everyone's focus shifted from Lythe getting back to track to just make sure I'm healthy. And I mean I must admit like a lot of my family, friends, school, coaches as well like stood by me and supported me. It wasn't a thing of you must rush to get back on track. It's even if you don't get back on track, just focus on getting yourself healthy, because I mean lungs just don't collapse, and it was like really a shock to all of us. And then luckily I was able to recover by the end of that year, not fully. Then beginning of 2020, I had a bit of an ankle injury, so that was also like another setback, which was also quite frustrating. And then COVID came and it was lockdown, so at least that, as much as COVID was a bad thing, it gave me more than enough time to rest and recover. But like after all those things happening one after another, coming into a season like I did last year, like I had like a lot of doubt, saying what, will I ever be able to pick up from where I left off in 2019 at African Champs? And then next thing, boom, 45-7, and it was like, oh, okay, wow.
When you started training again after that break, did it feel like you were starting from scratch?
Yeah, no, it did. And like I'll never forget, like, I mean, especially after the operation, it was like, as much as going back to training was difficult, just going back to normal life was difficult, because I mean, luckily my lungs are okay now, but after going for the operation like that, you struggle to like walk, pick up things, and I was like bedridden for like quite a few days, up to weeks. So it was difficult to get back into like that normal swing, and going back to school, catching up the work I missed out again. So yeah, like I'd say that was the hardest part. I mean, at that point, and with any challenge I faced, my mindset is I had to get back to track. But that was like the one time where it was like I have something else that's actually much more grave than going back to track. Like, can I just go on with normal life again? So that was like one of the most difficult times in my career, I'd say, but I've learned a lot from it. So I at least have quite a few good things to take out of it.
Like they say, the special ones always have crazy stories, right? So it's absolutely amazing to see. And these are things that we don't even know, that athletes go through, that athletes face. And it's so inspiring to know that, fine, track was always there and you always wanted to get back on track, but there was more to it as well.
Yeah.
And that's always what I think athletes need to remember. You want to be that track star, but just stay healthy and look after yourself, please.
Yeah, health is wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then 2019, Africa Champs, this is your breakthrough. This is when Lythe takes the world stage, right? Tell us what happened in that year.
Quite a bit. So I think that was the year. Yeah, so I won SA Champs, but I was the age group, the younger age category in that particular event. And I went on to winning that, and next thing they say, I was chosen to go represent SA at African Champs, and I was just like, wow, okay, like my mind only went as far as SA Champs. I didn't know there's anything further than that. So like it was actually really exciting. I mean, my mom and I were like over the roof. We were just like, no way, this is crazy. And like that's like when everything really became real. Like because I'd only ever thought as far as essays, because my goal was I had to get to essays, I want to win essays. And then just as I've done that, more doors open, and like just showed me like how big this industry, this like career path actually is. And it was exciting. I won't lie, it was actually one of my fondest memories.
And then you signed for Adidas as a professional athlete in grade 10.
Yeah.
Young, 16 years old. What is your popularity like at school then?
Oh, then I was low key. I was low key. I was just chilled.
No one coming to you asking you, Lythe, please hook me up, brother. 3 stripes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I tried not to tell too many people. Maybe of course, like the teacher will come be like, where'd you get those? And I was like, So, I mean, I didn't like to try flaunt around with it. I mean, luckily I was at boarding school, so it was mostly uniform. And maybe now and then I wear like a new pair of trainers here and there. But I mean, yeah, like it did draw quite a bit of attention. I won't lie, people asking for handouts and that. But if I'm able to help some way, I can. But at the same time, I also have rules in my contract, and I can't just give everything away, because I mean, they're investing in me, so I can't just give it away or hand it out.
So guys, please don't be DMing Lythe for any free stuff. It's not allowed.
It must be awesome to have that support, eh?
Oh yeah,
Takes pressure off you.
It is, and
You don't have to worry about shoes and that sort of thing.
yeah, and if it wasn't for that, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have made as much progress as I have now.
Okay.
Because I mean, especially with athletics, like that financial support makes such a big difference. Because it's a very lonely sport, and the moment you don't have support, it makes it much more difficult. And I mean, at least not having to worry about shoes or spikes, and that took a lot of weight off my shoulders as well. And I mean, it also does motivate you to an extent, but that was never, you know, the main goal. That was just a bonus on the side of it, which, you know, I'm truly thankful for.
Just like Wesley said, it takes massive pressure off of you, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I went through about 6 pairs of trainers a year, easily.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many you go through. So it's like crazy just to, you know, not have to worry about that and not have to fund that for yourself, but just to
Absolutely.
go to your cupboard, pick out a pair of trainers and run. So yeah, it's so important. But I mean, it obviously takes hard work to get there. A lot of athletes are always like, why can't I just sign a professional contract? Why can't I just do that? How long did it take you, and what did you have to do to sign a professional? I know you signed it at 16 years old, but I mean, you did crazy things on the track by then, right?
It was the year before that I broke the SA record, and like I think it was a 47.99, and then I went 46.7 that year. But like it took quite a lot at once, you know. I had to like do that, and then even winning essays wasn't enough. Like, you know, they were still waiting to see what the result would be at African Champs, and then from there they're like, okay, fine, we're convinced now. But yeah, no, it takes quite a lot. I won't lie. And I mean, it's one thing to acquire it, but it's another thing to, like, you know, maintain it, because at the same time, as much as you're in front, the target's always on your back. So now it's one thing to have it, but it's another thing to keep it and to just keep pushing yourself with it.
And I think 400-meter runners specifically are always kind of training on the edge of an injury. It's the toughest event. You've got to be so fit in every facet. You've got to be quick out the blocks. You've got to have the speed. You've got to have the strength. So yeah, the training has to be brutal, sure.
Oh yeah, no, it's painful.
What is your worst part of the race?
The race, I wouldn't say I have a worst part. I mean, the most painful part is obviously
Everybody has a painful worst part. Come on.
Okay, by far the most painful part is that last 50, last 100. But I'd say like on the back straight is where like my mind starts to like wander a lot, because like, you know, the back straight is like quite empty. It's like quite a long straight, so there you can like, you know, get distracted quite easily. But yeah, no, like that's the only other uncomfortable part of the race for me. But otherwise, you know, the end is the worst by far.
What are you thinking about on the back straight? Like, it's a quick 400. I know maybe if you ask me to run an 800, my mind will wander, but what do you think about while running a 400?
Well, I mean, what's for supper? I mean, especially the hostel, it's like, okay, I hope it isn't mince again. But that, and then like, you know, okay, am I pacing it okay? Am I going too hard? Am I going too fast? That kind of thing. But my mind does wander a lot, as you can see.
Does it take a lot of work to get that pacing right, to know what speed you need to be out of the blocks?
Oh yeah, it does. But the trick I figured out is not to overthink it too much. Because like when you overthink it, then you like, you know, you start to do things you wouldn't do normally, and then you like end up throwing your race plan into the deep end. So it's a bit tricky to like find that perfect balance. But I just try to stick to like, you know, how I feel on the day. See like, you know, do I feel stronger with my endurance, or do I feel stronger coming off the blocks, off the bend, and then I'll just interpret it from there.
In the 400, you know, we see this all the time, and that's why I'm scared to run a 400. Like, I would never do it, because that last 50 meters, we always see the guys hit that lactic, and we see funny things happen. Either, you know, they're running backwards and swimming, or they're running forwards and swimming. When was your worst lactic race?
I'd say the final at African Champs, because like, I mean, it was a long season last year, so of course I was I was like still quite sharp, but like, you know, my body was feeling the toll. And at that point I knew, I was like, okay, like I know, because I haven't like been like full on training, because I've been peaking for one thing after another. So I knew, okay, fine, like, you know, speed as I'm quick off the blocks, let me just blast off the back straight and then just hold on till the end. And I hit a pretty hard brick wall at the end.
And what do you do when you hit that brick wall? How do you finish the race? Like,
you just pray and just try hold it till the end.
pump the arms, don't give up.
If the arms are still working, yeah.
That seems to be the big difference between a good 400-meter runner and a great 400-meter runner. It's just that ability to hold on for the last 40, 50 meters.
Yeah, and especially if you can kick at the end. I mean, like with our final, the athlete from Botswana, I mean, he had an amazing kick at the end. And like, I was like, as he came past, I was just like, okay, this is like crazy. But I mean, on certain days you'll feel better than others. I mean, like when I ran at Boksburg, when I ran my PB at Boksburg, I mean, there, like, I felt really good at the end. Like, my kick was there. But at the same time, because I had been building my base for quite a while, and like, you know, my fitness was lasting on. But then as you go into the season, like as you've, you know, been competing quite frequently, it becomes a bit more difficult to like find that same kick. It's like with me, I was feeling a lot faster. Like my speed work was like really coming to shape. But because, you know, I was competing a lot and like focusing on peaking all the time, it was a bit difficult to hold on to that fitness and endurance. But yeah, it's all about like understanding your body and listening to your body on the day, and like also planning ahead.
Definitely planning. Nolo's going to play that World Under 20 race for us, the 400 meter final, and you're going to take us through it, right?
Okay.
Perfect. While Nolo finds that video, what is your favorite South African track? I mean, I have my guesses. I think you do too, Wesley, where all the PBs are run and all the, amazing races are run. But other than that, what is your favorite track in SA?
Well, I know the fan favorite is Tux because there are really quick times on that track. But I really enjoy Germiston Stadium because that was where I started training with my coach. And I also ran quite a few good times on there when I was still early up in high school. But I know Germiston has a special place in my heart, especially because of like my training partners at the time. Like I have a lot of good memories from there. So yeah, Germiston, Boksburg, but
the OG Germiston track.
The OG
Still one of the
track,
favorites.
Yeah.
Nono, we ready with the video? Perfect. So this was at the World Athletics Under 20 Championships in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
How are you feeling there, Lythe? Leading the race, last 100 meters, what is happening?
There comes Lactic.
Lactic just hits you.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of a shock for you, that result?
Um,
Especially leading.
I won't lie, I was devastated, but I knew that my whole intention on the day was let me get out and get to the 300 first. Because I knew, like, endurance-wise, I wasn't as strong, but as fresh. Basically, my legs weren't as fresh as all the other athletes. But I knew that, like, I wasn't going to lose pace at the end, so I thought, let me just try push and get there quickly. And then when the Lactic came, I wasn't too surprised. When other guys went past, I was just like, that's tragic.
It is what it is.
Maybe not so nice for you, but
Yeah.
it's great for South Africa that we had third and fourth. That's excellent.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, also Matt is a really hard worker. I mean, him and we've had this tit-for-tat relationship at events since high school. And I mean, he's a great athlete. And for him, I was also really proud for him, for his results. He also ran a PB that day. So it's quite exciting. And I mean, that's also one thing I enjoy about Team South Africa in general. Like, even though we are competing with each other, and like during the race, okay, it's fine. Like, we're rivals, but we still have that, that camaraderie and that friendship at the end. So, I mean, I feel like that's unique about us as a team as well.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, or you took us through your favorite track in South Africa, Germiston track. I was shocked. I mean, I thought it was going to be Boksburg, hands down. So that is something new I'm learning today. Your favorite international meet or track that you've run on so far? We know you still have your entire life to go, but, competitions that you've raced at so far internationally, what has been your favorite?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't Tokyo. I know, like, I mean, the stadium was just lovely. The track was also, like, it was a really fast track. Yeah, so, yeah, definitely the Olympic track in Tokyo.
But take us through that. You're 17 years old, right? Olympic Games. That is mind-boggling. What do you do take us through from leaving South Africa, well, actually, from your name being announced in the team, then leaving to Tokyo, arriving at the village, seeing all these athletes of that high caliber, high stature, not even just in athletics, all sporting codes, getting ready to race against the world's greats. Take us through your experience.
It was like, I was shocked, to say the least. I mean, because I was in Italy with Wade and Akani for a while, because we had a short European tour that side.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, never mind traveling, okay, seeing, okay, there's Michael Norman, there's Stephen Gardner. Then you go to the village and it's like, okay, whoa, it's like you're just like so starstruck. You can't believe, like, wait, no, that can't be, I mean, seeing a lot of idols I've looked up to, not just from athletics, like as you said, from different sport codes, was like so surreal. And like it just like, like brought this whole dream of mine alive, saying, you know what, I mean, you're here. I mean, even though like my dreams are to go a little bit more further than what I've done now, but it's like, it's possible. And yeah, it's like, I would have never thought that I was ever going to be in that environment, like amongst the best in the world and the most elite in all different sport codes. And yeah, I was thrilled, I won't lie. I mean, if you ask many of the athletes, they will tell you exactly how thrilled I was to be there.
What are you doing? I know the food court was your favorite venue. So you showed the athletes you were thrilled by packing it in, or what was the vibe?
Packing it in, everything, you name it. Walking around, trading the badges with the different countries. I did everything while we were there. The only thing I couldn't do was book a dentist appointment. But yeah.
Book a day in disappointment and Olympic Games, Wesley.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he couldn't do.
At least you know it's never going to get tougher. You know, there's never going to be more pressure. That's as big as it gets.
I
So
mean,
to be so young and to already know what that feels like, that's good.
I mean, like, I wouldn't say that the pressure won't increase. I mean, the pressure's always going to be there. I think the key is that throughout last year's season, I've learned how to better handle that pressure. Because especially come juniors, like, that's where I really, like, felt the pressure. Because going in there, it was my first time being the favorite to win such a major championship. And of course, like, I was like, okay, like, now I'm really, like, freaking out.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole purpose of last year was to just, you know, I mean, even though the focus was juniors, but like seeing the European tour and Tokyo, and of course World Relays in Poland, was to try get as much experience and exposure as possible. And then from that, you know, incorporate that into my career going forward, because at least now, you know, I know what it's like to compete at so many big events in 1 year. I know how to handle the pressure, or, you know, I'm prepared for the pressure to better phrase it. But yeah, no, like, I mean, I still feel a lot of pressure going into this season with whatever race I do compete, but at least, you know, I've had a better feel for that pressure and how to, you know, manage it.
Last year you were doing your matric, you were head of hostel there,
Yeah.
Olympic Games. I mean, did it ever feel like it was a bit much?
It did. When I got back, I was extremely burnt out. But at the same time, as soon as I landed from Tokyo, I had to go back to school, I think 2 days after, because when I landed, prelim started in 7 days. But I mean, at least the boys at the hostel were also quite supportive. I mean, as much as I was devastated when I came back from Kenya, I mean, at least, like, you know, having the boys, like, you know, say, Lythe, you know, be proud of you, well done, oh, we saw you run. And some guys like, you're slow, and I'm just like, I know. But I mean, if it wasn't for that, like, support structure and, like, those, you know, like, the mentors per se, like Coach Shoes as well, it would have been a lot more difficult. Because, you know, having to come back with disappointment. I mean, even though I was, like, pleased with the season, like, if I look at it holistically, like, you know, when you get your hopes up for something, you don't achieve it, of course you will feel a level of disappointment. And, you know, like, traveling up and down, I mean, I was away for 2 months at a time in matric, and, like, I know, and I got back, I knew I have a week to catch up 2 months of work for, like, crazy subjects. And, yeah, like, at least I was able to rest after that and, like, just have a cool off period. But yeah, no, it was difficult, and not just athletics, like, maintaining all that and juggling that was quite tough. But the people that were around me made it easier.
So there was no studying at all at the Tokyo Olympic Games?
I won't lie, I took my books with the intention of studying. Like,
But the food was too good,
Oh,
the
yeah,
girls
no.
were too good, the athletes were too good.
there was
No.
there was no studying.
Well, what happens in Tokyo stays in Tokyo, right? We'll leave it there.
Yeah, we can leave it there.
Lythe, I mean, you said that obviously matriculant last year, you've obviously passed your exams, even though it was a crazy year. You did well, you're out of school. Where are you right now?
I mean, I'm right here.
I mean, you know, in life, where you study.
I'm going to be studying at UJ this year.
Why? I mean, everybody will ask this question because a lot of people feel that you can only become a superstar if you leave the country, right? That is the perception of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Why did you stay in South Africa?
So I pretty much had to make the decision in grade 10 when I signed with Adidas, because one of the clauses of going to the States is that you cannot be an endorsed athlete or a pro athlete, so you can't receive any incentives. So of course, you know, when Adidas approached me with the contract, I'm allowed to sit down and evaluate, you know what, are we going to study in the States, or am I going to try and make it pro here in SA? And I mean, with like all the many clauses of going to the States, I mean, as much as it does provide opportunities, it is a little bit more restricting. But I mean, now we're seeing athletes like Patsu doing quite well. So I mean, like, that is also quite thrilling. But like, my perception at the time was, out of all the athletes that went to the States, there aren't that many that made as big an impact as the ones that stayed, such as Akani and Wade, for example. I mean, not to say that the States doesn't produce good athletes. I mean, Derek came from there. So, but for me, I felt the safer option for myself was to stay in SA.
Wesley, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you, I mean, as a journalist, again, speaking to a lot of athletes, do you feel that if you have an opportunity to move, go, do your thing? Or do you feel like we can produce superstars in South Africa?
Yeah, we can produce them here, definitely. I think we proved that, like Lythe said, Akani Simbine, Wade Vanika, Caster Semenya, they all stayed here and they became some of the best athletes in the world. I think maybe the difference in the United States is they maybe care a little bit less about the athlete, the individual. They're more concerned about the school, and they're more concerned about what you're doing for them. A lot of people will leave a tertiary education in the States without a degree, without a professional contract, and kind of starting from scratch at the age of 25. So it does work for some athletes. You look at someone like Anaso Jobodwana, he did very well.
Yeah.
And a lot of athletes have. I just don't think it's for everyone. And I think it is the safer option to stay here. I think having that, even though, you know, it's going to be new surroundings for you at UJ, moving from the school, still the same city, you know, you're around the same people. I think in the long run it's probably the better decision, and you can still get your degree here. So you're not losing out on anything.
100%. I mean, safer option to stay here. We had Paul Goris last week as a guest on NOSWEAT Podcast, and you know, we spoke about the numbers in America of guys going sub 10 is still higher than South Africa. The number of females going sub 11 is still higher. I mean, we can take it to 200, we can take it to 400, but the level of athletics in the country is higher. Where do you guys feel we are missing it in South Africa? Because I feel like at a junior level, at a youth level, we have amazing athletes, right? And we have numbers in athletes. If we look at last year, look at what our juniors did at World under 20 champs, sorry. Amazing medals that we never thought we could achieve, you know, as a country. But then where do we lose it? Is it at that university collegiate level? You know, are we not getting enough support? In your opinions, where do you think us as South Africans have to jack up our game?
I think it comes down to money at the end of the day. I think if you don't have the financial support, you're not really going to get anywhere. And individual athletes are left kind of scratching around for their own sponsors just to survive. Whereas there are other countries where athletes are given contracts and that they're supported by their national federations a lot more than here. It's not as easy, you know, you can't just say Athletics South Africa must get more money and support their athletes. But, you know, there's a lot of sports that are struggling for corporate funding. It's not just athletics. But there's ways to work around that. And they could probably be more involved in trying to get the athletes corporate sponsors. Because without that, I mean, you can have the support of the tertiary institutions, and it really helps. I mean, the universities do a great job, but they can only help to a point. And if you're going to create an environment for a professional athlete to succeed, it costs a lot of money. Like, if you look at how much money goes into the high performance center at Tuks, for example, it's not cheap, and someone has to pay for that. So in America, they have a lot more money than we have, and I think that's just the core of it, maybe.
Money, money, money. Who would have thought something that you just print on as a cotton, made out of cotton?
I have no idea.
Is, you know, that special. Come on, guys. But like, as an athlete, you know, and a young athlete, a male athlete, you know, what is your perception? What are your thoughts on why South Africa, why our numbers in track, the guys that are achieving success, the guys that are running fast, even ladies, you know, why our track athletes, why are our numbers so small?
I mean, as Wesley said, it's funding. Because I mean, for example, with me, if it weren't for my sponsors, I would have taken the first plane to the US. I mean, not because it was better for my career, but I mean, we have everything we need here to produce good athletes. And I say the difference is the abundance in the support and the infrastructure between us and the States. I mean, the States, go to any any major college, they have, like, you know, the support system. They have high performance centers. You know, they have those systems where they can implement good nutrition, good educational nutrition, like, you know, good gym programs, and, like, you know, assistance around an athlete or like a group of athletes. Whereas here, if we don't have that funding, it's very difficult to, like, you know, cater for all those needs. So I mean, also I'm still quite new into the whole thing, but for me, I say the biggest thing is funding. And like you said, you can't necessarily blame any institution or, like, you know, like ASA, because they have been trying to, like, you know, put measures into place to help. But it also comes down to motivation. I mean, like you said, it's, if you want to run, you will run, but if you don't have a track to go around, it makes it difficult to, like, you know, refine on your craft and work on it. So it's, I don't know, it's a bit of a dilemma in a way.
Catch-22 in a way, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, people out there, youngsters in school, just finishing, matriculating, you know, looking at your story. Again, it boils down to, before you had the backing, before you had the finance, you had the hunger. You know, so you weren't just sitting there, okay, with mediocre, you know, you weren't just complacent. You worked and you produced a essay record. and only after producing an essay record, then you signed, right? So I think that is absolutely amazing. That's what we have to remember as track athletes, that you have to do that. And that is, what's going to get you to that next point and that next stage. Now, Wesley, 2022 is a very busy year, right? I don't know where your focus is going to be. The season starts like tomorrow already. Yeah. We have Continental Cup, we have Commonwealth Games, we have World Juniors, we have World Champs. Lythe, Wesley, tell us, what is your focus for 2022?
There's no focus. There's so much. It's going to be such a long season.
Mm-hmm.
There's also road running and all sorts of things going on. So, I don't know. After the Olympics, I'd really like to see Akani Simbine just kind of picking up where he left off this year. I hope he's not too heartbroken by that result, that it's going to affect him, but we'll see. And then there's some really talented athletes. Kyle Blichnout is super exciting. I can't wait to see what that guy does over the next few years. I think, like Wade, he's a world record potential athlete. Like he's absolutely phenomenal. And then there's all sorts of other things. We've got a young woman pole vaulter for the first time in like forever, which is fantastic.
We haven't had a pole vaulter, woman or
Absolutely,
male, in a very long time, yeah.
And on the men's side as well, we've got top junior talent in that event. So it's nice to see athletes performing in something that we don't usually see them performing in. And then some of the younger athletes like Lythe, just seeing where they go, seeing if they can take the next step. But yeah, there's going to be so much to watch this year. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a year packed full of action track. And I think, if anything, this is the year where change comes to track and field in South Africa in terms of support, in terms of input, because I think we're going to be the most watched sport on television. Like, I put it out there. That is what I'm predicting, right?
There's enough going on.
There's so much going on. Lythe, what is your focus for 2022?
My focus, my focus is, of course, World Juniors again, round 2. I have a bit of a score to settle.
Yeah.
But so World Juniors, and of course, I want to maintain consistency and just plan my season a bit more strategically. But otherwise, I'll just try to also keep healthy, trying to keep pushing and just see how far my body can go.
But how lucky are you? I mean, like you said, World Juniors, second time round.
Yeah.
Not a lot of athletes get that.
Yeah.
They get one chance and then it's done. And so many athletes have missed out on their one chance because of COVID.
Yeah.
And here you are, Lythe, and you're getting a second chance. Like, that is absolutely a blessing in disguise, right? Take us through, I know it's a cliche topic now, we're over it, it's 2022, it's time for something fresh, something new. We don't want to be speaking about COVID anymore. But just take us through, your journey through that. Like you said, you had a lot of time to rest. But how did you handle the disappointments of not being on track, not knowing what's going to happen, when you have to get ready to race, when you have to be in your peak form? How did you and your coach handle that?
So we adopted the mantra, health as well. So of course our priority was on health, and of course I had a good team around me, like my physio Robin. And I also like a lot of Coach Shoes' words really stuck with me, like just keep it together, just be strong, take it step by step, take it day by day. And also one of like the best analogies that a wise man once told me was, when you're running a race, you look forward, you don't look back, else it will slow you down. So
Jeez.
I've always had that, or since then I've adopted that mentality of focusing on what's to come and not dwelling on what's already happened. So it's just that step-by-step approach. And I mean, if I'm in a time to recover, I need to embrace that challenge in the current moment. Okay, accept this is what I need to do. There will be a time where I can go back on track and I can go run, but right now this is what I have to do. And it's for it's all in plan for the greater picture.
I mean, I guess that's a good way of looking at things, and luckily for you, age is on your side. You started off young and you were a spectacular athlete from a very young age, and you've got a very bright future ahead of you. But in your career so far, you have raced massive names. First one that comes to mind that everybody knows, Wade van Niekerk, the man. And we keep it in Africa. You raced Isaac. You raced Norman. You raced Gardner. Take us through, what is it like? You're a young guy between the age 16 and 17, and you're racing these big names. What is going through your mind?
That's a pretty big gap. Those are my exact thoughts. But I mean, it's thrilling. I mean, like you see these guys racing on TV, especially with Wade, because he's like our hometown hero. I mean, getting to race with him was like quite exciting. It's like, okay, cool, it's quite nice. But I mean, it also shows, you know what, that's the standard that I have to meet one day.
Mm.
So at least it also helps me visualize, helps me see, okay, fine, that's what running a 44 looks like, that's what running a 43 looks like. So it's, the exposure is good. I mean, I take all the positives from it, and I want to try shrink that gap over time.
I mean, do you have the motivation? Do you have the inspiration to chase down that record?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Wesley?
It must feel so far away, though.
Oh yeah, no, it is quite far, but that's the beauty of it,
Yeah.
the challenge.
Gives you
So,
something to work for.
Yeah.
I mean, we would love to see Wade van Niekerk and a Lythe Pillay racing, but I think by the time Lythe is there and Wade is going to be out already, I mean, we don't even know what Wade is going to come back and race this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's a guess. It's, everybody's just waiting, sitting at the edge of the seats. Is Wade going to make a comeback? What is it going to look like? He's coming from the USA. But I mean, I would love to see a Lythe and Wade race. You?
What's awesome for me, I think, is having athletes, not just Lythe, but the people in his age group coming through. It's one thing producing a world-class athlete, but to produce a culture in an event where, it's not just Wade and then Wade disappears. It's Wade and then the next group, like we've seen in the 100-meter sprint. And it's changed the face of South African athletics because it's generation after generation. They're just kind of feeding off each other. And hopefully this is the beginning of that. Hopefully over the next decade we'll see the 400-meter just becoming stronger and stronger.
I mean, like you said, we have a lot of athletes already in that 400-meter race. It's going to be a packed final at national champs already, and I think it's going to be something to look forward to. Hey, on that note, I put Coach Paul Gories on the spot last week, but he was too shy, because he's a coach, he has his athletes, you're an athlete, but Wesley, you're a journalist. So I'm going to put you on the spot tonight, and I'm going to ask you, 2022 predictions. We see a lot of comebacks. We see Enrico Brainkies training for his comeback. We see Karina Horn training for her comeback. We have a lot of sub-10s in the 100-meter. We have a full-on fast 400 meters. Akiti Nene, Lythe. What are your predictions?
I don't know, because my predictions the last couple of years haven't been great.
2022 is a new year.
Medals is different. Yeah, I don't know. We went through a period of a few years of fantastic athletics, and then the last couple of years, obviously, we've had COVID and every other issue that we've had to deal with in between. But I just don't feel like, I feel like there's been a dip, in a sense. Not getting medals at the Olympics and the World Championships is an issue. It's something that we need to resolve, and hopefully we'll see that. But, you just need a bit of luck to go your way, and you need a few athletes to pull through, a few injuries that happened, which maybe won't happen this year. So, I predict it'll be a better year. I'm pretty sure we'll get medals at the World Championships. I'll be shocked if we don't. The 4x1 team has to come right. Even the 4x4 guys are going to have a chance, I'm pretty sure. They'll improve to that level. We might see Wade back. We might even see Castor back. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Akani Simbida has got to get a medal at the World Championships. He has to. It's got to happen. And I'd back him. I think it's time. I think it'll be a better year. Let's hope.
I mean, those names, they just keep rolling off your tongue, and you haven't even said all of them,
No.
We still have Gift, we still have Clarence, we still have Alyssa trying to make a comeback. It's going to be a packed year. I'm excited. I mean, I'm happy I'm just a spectator watching. No pressure at all. But, while Nolo gets the 4x400 meter World Championships relay video ready for us to watch, you just mentioned relay. We have such strong relays in our men's department. 4x100 meter, we can medal. 4x400, we can medal. But like you went to the World Championships with a 4x4 relay. How did it feel being part of the national squad at such an important event?
Yet again, it was quite a big shock.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially like when you step on that platform, you really it's only when you walk onto the track, or for me, it's only when I walked onto the track that the full magnitude of the event actually hit me. It's okay, wow. I don't know. I mean, of course, my heart was beating like a crazy drum, but it was exciting, and I mean, for me, that was a proper taste of the dream.
Yeah.
And I actually get goosebumps thinking about it. But I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I still haven't wrapped my head around it yet.
Absolutely surreal.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, it's no, it didn't,
Yeah.
It's I never ever thought it was going to happen so soon. I had doubt that I would ever go to Olympics, and then it's what you already have now. It's
Yeah.
kind
It's
of
done. Now
yeah.
it's time to work and get those medals, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Let's watch that 4x400 meter race at the World Championships in Poland. So which leg did you run, Lythe?
I was on the first leg.
First leg. You know, you have to get the team off to a good start. The pressure's on.
Yeah,
What was your tactic?
just go crazy.
From start to finish, all the
Yeah.
way. Not thinking about mints on this back straight?
Okay, no, the back straight was really cold. That's what I was thinking about. And of course, Isaac just flying off that straight.
Sure. And speaking about that, the weather, how did you guys adjust to that? Because a lot of the athletes that raced at the World Relay Championship said it was absolutely difficult to adjust to the weather.
Yeah, it was like below 9 degrees when we ran this particular race. It was absolutely freezing.
Mm.
And of course, us being South Africans, we didn't actually, like, you know, we undermined the cold weather, and we all
Yeah.
left our jackets in the warm-up room.
I mean, you handed over the baton first.
Yeah,
Good job, Lythe.
thank you.
Yeah, excellent leg.
Excellent leg. Like, good tactic. Came through on that back straight. Never had any lactic.
Oh, no,
I mean, on
didn't.
the home straight there.
Yeah, no, here I didn't go out too hard as I did in Kenya.
Mm. I think that was a very well executed 400 meter over there. Watching Zakiti Nene run the second leg, what is going through your mind?
Zach actually ran a brilliant race. I don't think
Mm.
many people understand what he did. So
Mm.
he actually let the guy from Netherlands jump past him on the back straight just to catch him here at the end, where this guy couldn't fight back. I mean, he ran a brilliant leg.
Very technical, right?
Yeah, no, it was like actually the smartest leg out of our whole race.
So the baton is still in first place on leg 3. How are you feeling at this point? Like, you're like, okay, we have 2 more legs to go. It's just 800 meters. What are the odds?
I mean, we were thinking about the money. I would
What was the first place prize?
a lot, about 10,000 USD each. Yeah.
So yeah, you're thinking about the money, and you're like, okay, he's coming into that, you know, last 110 meters over there, hitting that last 100. You're still in the running.
You
And-
feel a bit helpless watching.
I wouldn't say helpless. I mean, we've done our job. It's just, you know,
Hoping.
yeah, hoping. I mean, hoping what we did was good enough and the guys can run their best leg.
Mm.
And you know, getting to choose which leg you want to run, was that a coach's thing? Was that a team decision? Did everybody in the team decide, okay, Lythe, you kick-starting us. Okay, Zach, you second. What was the vibe there?
Yeah, it was kind of a team thing, and then they were like, "Your life, you think you should start?" And I was like, "You sure?"
Yeah,
But I mean, wherever the team wants me to go, I'll go.
yeah.
Wherever they feel more comfortable with me
Mhm.
running.
Last leg again, you're in the lead. We're feeling good. Everybody at home. Wes, I don't know about you, but I was like, oh my gosh, South Africa. We nearly there. We can take the 4x4.
This is when I start jumping on the couch.
Yeah. And you're like, what is happening there now with that lactic?
Mm.
It fell apart.
So, I mean, you know, I think very young athletes in that team.
It
you
shows
know.
the potential.
It shows the potential. I think Zach the oldest athlete in that team.
The run team.
Ranty is the oldest athlete in that team, you know, and then you have the rest of you who are, geez, still under 20, you know, still climbing the ladder. That just shows the caliber of athletes we have in South Africa. I mean, in that race, we don't have Wade van Niekerk. You know, we don't have the king of 400 meter in the world running that race for South Africa. So I think when we speak about medals in the relays for world champs, I think we're going to be rich over there, right?
I hope so. I'm glad that they've got a coach.
Mm.
We need a relay coach.
Yeah.
To kind of help develop that culture,
Mhm.
not just with the athletes, but within the sport. You know, we need to care about the relays. Otherwise, there's no reason to support it.
100%, yeah.
And yeah, it's the only event in athletics where you get to compete as part of a team. It's not just about you. So
Yeah.
I think as a country we can get behind the relays, and we've definitely got the potential. Even among the women, if we can just get a bit more depth, you know, the relay is the place where a country like us absolutely has the chance to pick up a few more medals. So let's hope that they focus on that the next few years.
I mean, we see a lot of countries, and we spoke about this last week as well, who focus solely on the relay. Japan, India, you know, you don't have their relay athletes competing in individual events. You have them training for relay and
Absolutely.
focusing on medaling in the relay. Do you think when it comes to the women's side of things, just to, kickstart the medal tallying, just to kickstart the motivation and the confidence in our track ladies, do you think that is where we need to start?
Yes, possibly. Just the fact that it's easier to qualify for an athlete. If you're not quite there with the individual qualification, it can be quite demoralizing, I'm sure. But if you've still got that drive from, well, I'm in the relay team, or I'm close to being in the relay team, it might be enough to just give you that push that you need. And it definitely provides opportunities, like going to the Olympics, for example. And it provides that experience that athletes need without them having to already be at that level where they're qualifying for individual events.
Yeah, and I mean, a relay is such a technical race as well. I mean, we always see the famous USA dropping the baton or something happening just because they're too fast, or they don't practice baton exchange overs, very often. And I think it's a very technical race. So, actually being a relay athlete is not a bad thing.
No,
I wish
not
that
at all.
existed when I was an athlete. I would have loved that. But I mean, Wesley, you were at the first record event for 2022, the 35-kilometer race walking event. How was that? I think 2022 is going to be a year filled with records, a year filled with great highlights, great races, great success. But how was it being at the first record race for South Africa this year?
It was so early in the year. It's still January.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I was woken up like halfway through last week and reminded that there's a national championship that weekend. And it was a bit of a shock to my system because it's still so early.
Yeah.
We can't blow that record too much out of proportion. What World Athletics has done is they've decided that the 50K walk is a bit far. So they've changed it to a 35K. So it's a new event.
Okay.
It's the first time Wayne Snyman's done the 35K, so it's a national record. Not a bad time. But what's interesting is that what it's done for an athlete like Wayne is that it's given him options. He's now qualified in the 20K and the 35K for the World Championship.
Sure.
So he has a decision to make as to whether he wants to do one or both. But I think a nice decision, a good decision from World Athletics. It maybe makes that longer race a little more inclusive. 50Ks is a long way to walk. And I think we might see more athletes moving up to the 35K now.
No, definitely. And I think also good starting point for Wade. I mean, he's been an athlete that's, also has a very, very nice CV in his track career. And I think, already qualifying at such an early stage for World Championships just gives you, breathing space for the rest of the year. So I think that's good on him. Quick controversial question. We've seen the new rule. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you're on social media. I don't know if you've seen it. But where if you're running, I don't know if it's completely implemented yet or if they're still in discussions, but if you're running the 800-15 and you step outside the line, it's okay, on the inside of the track. But obviously we know in sprinting, if you step on the line, we are disqualified. There was one race I ran, and I think I won the race by 50 meters, but I stepped on the line and I lost about, 10,000 US as well. And I was like,
Sure.
And I wasn't distracting anybody. Like, I was 50 meters ahead, but I stepped on the line, and because I stepped on the line, without interrupting anybody, because there was no one around me, I was disqualified. How do you feel about that? I mean, us as sprinters, we're like, nah, no.
I won't lie, that topic does go a little bit close to home for me as well. I don't know, I mean, it's a bit, like, I feel like it's okay as long as it's consistent. Because, I mean, there are some races where people do get caught, some don't get caught. So it's, I mean, rather have it consistent. It's either, like, if they have a limit, say, maybe 1, 2, or 3 steps on the line max, or no steps at all, and whoever it does gets called out for it immediately. But like I'm saying, I mean, I can't be a hypocrite on this topic, but I just say consistency has to be key.
Are you a line stepper?
I have before.
And what was the result of that?
I got lucky.
You got lucky.
Yeah.
You were so lucky. I was so mad.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And what do you think about that rule, Wesley?
Yeah, I think there must be consistency. I always feel like if you're not impeding in another athlete, if you're not getting in anyone's way, then what's the problem? And if they're going to do it for one event, you do it for every event. You do it for the 10,000 meters as well, because a 10,000 meter race can be won by 100th of a second.
100%.
So it makes the same difference. So yeah, consistency, that's all that matters.
I mean, it's going to be a year filled with rules, consistency, SA records, lightning fast. It's going to be one crazy year, and we are so excited to see what the year is going to have in store for us. Lythe, we thank you so much for joining us on our podcast tonight, No Sweat. And we know that 2022 is going to be the best year for you ever. We know that, there's been challenges and you've been working at it, and now it's your time to shine. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And Mr. Botton, world-renowned journalist, I will always say that. Thank you for always gracing us as your co-host presence over here. And I think we're going to be bumping into each other a lot this year.
Yes.
And we're going to be speaking about, all the results in the track and analyzing them and doing what we do best. No pressure on us.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome year.
I think it's going to be a fantastic year. Like a lot of youngsters watching this hopefully get to see this, and they draw a lot of inspiration from you. I want you to just inspire them with a few words. You've already given us words of wisdom, and you've dropped the mic a couple of times tonight already, but just that last bit of inspiration and motivation for all the youngsters getting ready for the season.
I'd just say I'm going to try and make it as less cliche as possible, but the best I can just say is if you really want something, just go get it. I mean, yes, there are like realistic factors that do stop you or prohibit you from doing certain things, but where there's a will, there's a way, as you said. And if you want it, if you want it more than someone else, make it difficult for them to beat you. Just keep pushing, and also help as well, and patience is key. Those are, yeah.
Well, you heard it right there from Lythe Pillay. Where there's a will, there's a way. Health is wealth. Patience is key. We're going to drop the mic there. No Sweat, episode 15 with Wesley Botton, Lythe Pillay. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Over and out.